In this video we want to see how to build sectioning designs based on more complex 3D objects, for example like this 3D model I have right now in my viewport. For this you can use the sectioning tool in 3D Studio Max, and I go into create and then shapes, and in shapes I find the sectioning tools. Before I use the sectioning tools, we can see that my objects is in terms of the coordinate system on position, it starts on position Z0, which is quite handy because if I draw my first sectioning plane, it's also on the same level, it's on 0. So if I design a building, for example a floor plan, I can just move this right mouse click for example 2 meters into that direction, and then I already have my first section on the level of 2 meters. Okay, what you can see is when I move this section and I do this section next to my object, not on my object, just next to my object, that it cuts everything in my viewport. And this is what I want. And now as a next step I can use again my array tool. I go into array and then I go for example for a count of 15 and for a distance of 100 centimeters, and I switch on my preview and I can see that my object is cut in 15 sections. And like before, my video before, you can see how I can adjust this, and this already looks pretty good. And when I go into OK, then I can see that I have my planes, my section planes, and this model is cut into these sections. To get shapes out of this, there's one option you can do. You can select with window crossings all these sections. I have selected 15 shapes right now, and if I go into right mouse click and convert it to editable splines, then you can see that I generated 15 splines based on my basic shapes. I go here into isolate selection, and here are my 15 sections based on my geometry. We generated right now shapes. This means lines and not 3D geometries, and by default it is like this, that with 3D Studio we have to weld all these vertices. What you can see is that this line consists of different kind of splines, and points are not connected. We have to select all vertices in one spline. We have to go to the function weld, and with a weld dimension of 1 millimeter, which should be fine in this example, we can weld all these objects. You can see before we have a lot of yellow little dots, and every dot stands for the first vertex point of one spline. You can also show the number of vertex points, and you can see that the yellow one is always number 1 in one spline. And if I select all of them and then choose weld, you can see that there's only one yellow vertex left, and it counts the amount of vertex points. And with this information right now, we know that it's closed spline, and we can, for example, attach or apply one modifier, the extrude modifier, and we can extrude it to a 3-dimensional shape. Okay, I delete the extrude modifier again, and we can optimize this a little bit. If we have a simple shape like this, we can for example select only one of these splines, and we can go into the menu attach multi and editable spline, and then select all of these, string A, all of these, and attach them to one big editable spline. And now again we can go into vertex, and we see there are many yellow vertexes, so this consists of many single splines. We select all of them, and I can see in the menu that the amount of vertex points is 858. And if I then select the weld function and select all of the vertex points again, then you can see that I have less vertex points, 444, and with a simple shape like this, it should be like that on every spline level we only have one spline. And so this is a good start to produce a three-dimensional object out of this with different kind of sections. And instead of the extrude modifier, we use a different method. We use the face extrude modifier, and the advantage of this is that these faces so far don't have any dimensions. We have to attach another modifier, in this case the shell modifier. And now we have a much better control than when we only use the extrude modifier, because we can adjust the inner amount, we can adjust the outer amount, and really see that it fits to our design, and adjust the sections in the way we want them to have. Instead of face extrude, we can also use a different method. We can select our spline object, and we convert it, right mouse click, to an editable mesh, which is quite similar. The only thing is we lose the information of our edit spline underneath, and then again we can use the shell modifier, which causes more or less like the same result. Sometimes it is like this, that with more complex objects, for example like this mesh smoothed letter A, the method doesn't work so well, or we have to adjust it a little bit, and I will show you how it works with this kind of geometry. I go again into my section tool, and then by the way, it could be also tilted. This doesn't make any difference. I go into tools again in my array, and go into my preview. This is a much smaller object, so I have to go into different dimensions, and these are my sections. Same method like before, and here it's like this. If I collect all my sections and I go into convert to editable spline, I go into isolate selections, then like before I see my lines. I select again one line, I go into attach multi, I select with string A all these section lines, and I have one object. And if I now go into my vertex area, I see a lot of yellow starting points in terms of splines, and I select all these little vertex points, 12,000 vertex points. Actually you can see it here in the menu, and select weld. Then it takes a while. On my computer, to be honest, more than 1 minute, and you can see that there are probably some few gaps. Here are some of these gaps. So the weld function didn't work so well. I had a radius of 0.1 centimeter, and the distance between these lines, I can use my tape measurings. I go into a three-dimensional snap toggle, right mouse click, I select vertex, and now I can measure the distance. This is the distance. It's a little bit bigger, so two methods. I can extend my weld, or another method, which is probably the better method, is I go into my editable spline again, and I go into vertex level, and I use my connect tool, and then I connect these little gaps, and it depends on the geometry, there can be quite many of these gaps, or probably 4 or 5 for each spline, so you have to look at this properly. With these problems in my mind, I choose for this geometry a more analog way. I produce again my section levels, I go into tools and array, and I have an array count of 15. I go into my preview. I have to select the right window because my array distance is 2.5 centimeters in y direction, so I have to choose the front viewport, and I choose again preview. This looks pretty good right now, and after this again I convert this to an editable spline. And choose isolate selection to look at these spline lines properly. Before we did it like this, that we selected one spline and attached all the other splines. Now I do it differently. I only look at one spline, for example the first spline, and I go into full screen perspective, and I go on to this vertex level. I select all vertices. I see all these yellow little points. This means there are a lot of points deselected. I select all of them, and again I go into weld with a 0.1 centimeter weld dimension, and what we can see is already quite good. The amount of yellow points is reduced, but we can still see yellow points. And what we have to do here, for example, if I already attach the face extrude modifier like before, the shape just disappears, the spline is gone. I deselect again face extrude, or I go into vertex point and I have show end result toggle off, so I can see the spline line is still there. And what I have to do is two options. I can extend the amount, this weld, for example, to 7 millimeters, and select all my splines and go into weld. This is one option, but you can see this was too much because the distance between all these points was less than 7 points. Also like this, that the shape is distorted, so this is not the method I would like to use. What I do is I go into connect and I connect all the little gaps I found. And when I when I have all the little gaps connected, and I go through the whole shape, and best case I do this in top view, and probably also go into isolate selection only with this shape. Look at this, and here I still see some gaps, which I will connect with my connect tool. Then at the end of the day I can leave my vertex tool, but I see there's only one yellow vertex point left. This is vertex point number 1. I can show the numbers. If I go into display show vertex point, I can see that this is number 1. I go again on the level of face extrude, and I can just see that the geometry doesn't disappear anymore. And now I can do it like before. I can add a shell modifier on top, and adjust it to the height I want to have this part of my section design. And of course this process I do for all the lines, and this is definitely a really simple and clear control for all my levels, and I can avoid mistakes because vertex points were probably too close together. If you want to build a structure which is slightly more complex in terms of sectioning, you can do it pretty much the way like I showed you before, also with the program Para 3D. And just to show it again, I have my basic object. First I go, I select and hide my my example, and this is my 3D object. Very simple box, which I distorted a little bit, and then I added a mesh smooth modifier, so we have something like this bird, or however you want to see this. Anyhow, I go to sectioning, draw my first sectioning, and I move this sectioning like before to a point that it starts to touch my object. I tilt it a little bit and move it again so it's cutting my object, and then after selecting my selector move tool, I go to away, and the first thing I will away it a Y direction with a count of 10, and in my preview you can already see what's happening. This looks already pretty good, probably slightly higher, somehow like this. That's good enough. And if I have done this, I can choose all of these sections, and I can copy them, and then, for example, just turn them around. Let's see, probably in Z direction. 90 degrees, or however you would like to do this. And the last thing I have to do is what I see, it doesn't cut off everything. So with the direction I'm quite happy, but I'm not so convinced of the amount. So what I could do is I can just add a little bit more of them. And here you can see that it works quite well, that it goes in all directions. And the next step I do like before, I select all of them, and now I've selected all of them, I convert them to editable spline, go again to isolate selection, and then I have to work on the splines again. I choose my first spline, and with my shortcut H, and I look at this in my top view, and again I isolate this to have a better view on my object. I see a lot of yellow vertex points. This means we have a lot of segments. The whole thing is not welded automatically. It would be really nice if somebody knows how to do this in a better way. To post it or send me a comment. Anyhow, I choose all my vertex points and go to weld, and then the next thing I deselect the whole thing, and I can see that there are still some vertex points. I again go to connect. I connect all of them, and there's one way to see if they're all connected, because if I connect them, the last missing gap, there should be something left. It's this one. Then you can see that at the end of the day it's closed. So if you see a yellow dot connected to a white dot and it's still connected, then this means the whole thing is closed. And then you can again choose this line and attach a shell modifier. And if I look at this in my shaded mode, then you can see that it works properly, and that probably helps a little bit to find the last gaps. So always when you see a yellow dot connected to a white one, then you can be pretty sure about that the whole thing is closed. This video is based on a method of David Fano from Designreform, who invented this really nice method of sectioning. Thanks a lot.